the NGI. Thank you. Yeah, this just saying that this webinar will be recorded as all the previous ones as well. And for those who have been asking, all the previous public funding masterclass webinars are now available on the NGI Tetra website. And I also forwarded all of you an email with the link of the recordings. And I can also attach it in the chat here after. But as I was saying before, my name is Elo. I work in Civita Estonia. And Civita is one of the partners of the NGI Tetra. And for those who still haven't been here or don't know yet, NGI Tetra is the business accelerator for the NGI initiative. And we have been now running for almost 3 years already, and we are finishing soon in June. But we are still doing some webinars and some trainings before we finish. And during these 3 years, we have been trying to give our best insights to the NGI and the beneficiaries regarding business. So we have done over 40 webinars, we have done 4 boot camps, and over 100 hours of mentoring. So we really hope that this has been insightful for everyone, and we hope to still see you in the next months to come. And about our event today. So this is the last webinar of the Public Funding Masterclass, and today we are going to talk about Horizon Europe. So the Masterclass was a 5-webinar series, and it also includes the free one-to-one mentoring. The mentoring is open for only the NGI participants, so the beneficiaries who have gotten funding from under the NGI. If you have already chosen your mentors, great. If you still haven't, there is still time to decide. The mentoring will take place in April, and I believe that all of you have been contacted by our partner Startup Division. And if you haven't, let me know. But yes, as I said before, all the last webinars have been recorded as well, and they are now accessible on our website. So we started our masterclass with a more overall topic, so understanding the public funding options in Europe and how to read a call text. We went on with the EIC Accelerator, with tenders, and with cascade funding. And now we are finishing with Horizon Europe today. And without further ado, we have 2 great speakers here today. And I will give the microphone over to them. If you have any questions during this webinar, feel free to ask in the chat or just raise your hand, and all the questions will get answers. And I wish everyone a good webinar from my side.
Thank you, Elo. Thank you for the introduction. I hope that we will manage to reach the expectations for being great. My name is Kostas Bouyouklis. I work for Cupran International, which is a consultancy that has been involved in public funding research programs, European ones, framework programs from FP5, FP6, FP7, Horizon 2020, and now Horizon Europe for more than 20 years. And together with my colleague, Dr. Apostolos Tsolakis, we are actually make the webinar for you. Let me just give me a moment to share my screen. Is everything okay? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see full screen.
Okay. So, as Elo said before, we will focus on Horizon Europe, and together with Apostolos, the 2 of us were going to deliver this webinar. Kostas Giatzoglou, another colleague of ours, was supposed to be here, but he's ill today, so I hope that Apostolos and I can make it even without him. Just to give you the overall picture of today's webinar, actually it will have 3 parts. The first part will make a short introduction on the Horizon Europe, give an overall overview of the program, the framework program, its vision, its budget, the thematic priorities. We used to call them like that. Now they are called clusters, their funding schemes, and the work programs, which is something which is useful to analyze and we'll analyze later on, as well as how you can find information and further support. The second part of our presentation will focus on the funding and tenders portal. It is the portal of the European Commission that gathers all the information for funding programs and tenders. And actually, you have to use this portal to be able to participate, for example, in research consortia, research proposals, as well as run later on if it is a successful research project. There, we will start with some basic stuff that any organization has to do, which is a PIC number. But then we will also give more information about searching, how we can search for suitable calls for proposals, how we can find topics, and things like that. As well as we'll also discuss a bit how we can find partners and consortia, because in Horizon Europe, you apply together with other organizations. So if you have a research idea, practically you set up a consortium. It can be a small one with 5-6 partners, but it can be in some cases, very large ones with 25, 30 partners, and we go together. And the third part of the presentation is about the proposal template, actually the Horizon Europe proposal, which includes two parts, part A and part B. Apostolos will guide us on this. Some information about the budgetary issues, which are very important in Horizon, as well as some takeaway tips. In every part of the presentation, whenever we finish a part of the presentation, we will open a question and answers, let's say, session for 10-15 minutes, and then we will proceed with the next part. So, moving on with an introduction about Horizon Europe. Horizon Europe is actually a large framework program of the European Commission to support research and innovation in Europe. So, in its vision, it has a number of major, let's say, objectives that you can see in the slide. It's about how to tackle research and innovation to tackle climate change, to achieve UN Sustainable Development Goals, to boost the EU competitiveness and growth, to facilitate collaboration among research teams and researchers across Europe, and through them help implement EU policies to tackle global challenges, to help better diffuse knowledge, excellent knowledge and technologies, and of course, both through Horizon Europe, but also through the outcomes of the Horizon Europe projects, to create more and better jobs, to exploit the EU talents, the EU researchers, let's say, talents, and of course help the European economy grow. Okay. So these are the overall, let's say, vision and the overall priorities of the Horizon Europe. Now let's move on a little bit further and try to understand what exists within this huge program that we call Horizon Europe. This figure will just give an overview. I will start from the right, where you can see the Euroatom, which is actually Horizon Europe fund research that supports research on fusion, fission, and as well as the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. In the left side, you can see that there are sub-programs that are focusing on European defense, both research as well as development actions. And the main part of it is the specific programs under Pillar 1, Pillar 2, and Pillar 3 that support, of course, different priorities. For example, the Pillar 1 is focusing on excellent science. It funds actually the European Research Council that supports highly calibrated scientists in their endeavors. The Marie Curie initiative, which is an old initiative again supporting researchers and mobility of researchers, as well as funding of research infrastructure across Europe. The Pillar 3 focuses more on innovation, and it actually funds the activities of the European Innovation Council, the European Innovation Ecosystems, as well as the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. Where we will mostly focus on presentation today is in Pillar 2. Why? Because this is the biggest part of Horizon Europe, this Pillar 2, and most importantly, we think that it's much closer to your interests and to your, let's say, potential involvement within Horizon. In Pillar 2, Commission, actually, through the Horizon Europe program, tried to support research and innovation actions that will help Europe address global challenges. And, of course, increase the industrial competitiveness of Europe. So, which are these thematic priorities, as we used to call them in the past? Now they are called clusters. It's health, culture, creativity and inclusive society, civil security for society, digital, industry and space. This is also a domain that's much closer to next generation internet initiatives and businesses. And this is probably one cluster which is quite important. Food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture and environment. So what we will say today mostly focus on pillar 2. Of course, there is also another part of the Horizon program that is focusing on widening participation and strengthening what we call the European research area. In some cases, there might be interesting topics also there, especially in the widening participation and spreading excellence. So this is the overview of the different sub-programs and thematic priorities that exist in Horizon. Now, let's talk a little bit with numbers. As you can see, the Horizon Europe actually aims to cover a 7-year period from 2021 to 2027. And its total resources are approaching almost 100 billion. It's 95.5 billion, which is a huge, let's say, amount of resources supporting research and innovation across Europe. So over 50% of the resources of the program actually focus on pillar 2, the pillar that we are putting more emphasis today. As you can see at the right part of my slide, we said that Horizon Europe has some specific thematic priorities that aim through research and innovation in them address global challenges that Europe is and the world is facing, and of course to boost competitiveness of the European economy. Now we call these clusters. So we have the digital industry space cluster, a thematic priority around digital technologies, research, and of course industry and space. I will say a little bit more later. And of course, the rest of them. How it works. Any priority, any sub-program of Horizon Europe issues a work program for a 2-year period. For example, now we have 2022. In 2021, there was a work program. There were work programs that were issued by the European Commission covering the 2-year period of 2021 and 2022. There is one main work program, as I said before, per pillar, like Marie Curie, but also for every cluster of the 6 clusters that we said before, plus for the rest of the activities and the sub-programs of Horizon Europe. Why is this important? Because in the work programs, we can find all the information we need so as to understand whether we could have a role and involvement in Horizon Europe proposal and then projects. As you can see, the work program actually includes some important information that starts with a strategic plan and the EU policy priorities in a specific domain and the key strategic orientations, and of course, what Commission expects, what Commission would desire to get as expected impacts through the funding of all these let's say, research and innovation projects. All these are grouped within work programs through a term that we call destinations. So what is a destination? Is a part in the work program that describes the socioeconomic challenges and the related expected impact that Commission expects to be addressed through the research projects that it's going to fund in this specific domain. So every work program is organized in destinations. In every destination, which is practically thematic sub-programs, in every destination, there is a package of call of proposals, and in every call of proposals, there is a group of topics, of research and innovation topics that Commission is interested to fund. So in a work program, we check the destination, we see what calls for proposal exists there, and most importantly, first of all, we try to identify a topic that is relevant to our research and innovation interests. Whether we are a company, whether we are a research organization, a university, or whatever. In the work program, it's also described what should be the expected outcomes of the projects that are expected to be funded in short, but also medium term. Okay, and of course, within each topic, someone can read the specific scope of the topic, which describes in detail what kind of research activities in which specific research sub-areas the specific topic is interested in. But we will move on and try to explain a little bit better. So the one thing is that the various thematic priorities, the clusters, the work programs of each cluster, the specific research sub-areas, destinations, and the specific topics that we are searching for in order to see whether there is a topic that is of interest for us. Another important aspect in Horizon Europe is the different types of actions and funding schemes. So in Horizon Europe, as it was also in Horizon 2020 before, we have three main types of actions. We have the purely research projects, which of course have a flavor of innovation too. So projects that are focusing on creating new knowledge for new or improved technologies, products or processes or services. And usually these projects focus on both on basic and applied research, on technology development, on integrations, but practically they reach a TRL level which are not very close to the market. And this is funded by 100%. So whenever you see that the topic requests for RIA proposals for research and innovation actions, then the funding rate is 100% for all participants. The other type of action is the innovation action. These are actually innovation projects that are much closer to the market. So they aim to create practically new, improved products, processes, and designs. They include activities such as prototyping, testing, piloting, and even large-scale product validation, market replication. So we are talking about higher TRL levels. And of course, the outcomes of the innovation action projects are much closer to the market, just one step before entering the market. And then we have the third type of action, which is the coordination and support actions. Those are projects like TETRA, who aim to support the implementation of the Horizon Europe program, support the European policies that are served through the Horizon Europe specific areas, and facilitate cooperation, networking, in some cases also policy aspects. And again, there the funding rate is 100%. So this is a little bit provocative slide because it actually asks on whether the Horizon Europe is the right program for NGI beneficiaries. And before focusing on it, I would like to say from my personal experience, I'm involved more than 20 years in European research projects. There are multiple benefits from participating in this type of projects. Those has to do, of course, with expanding your networks across Europe. And this is very important, especially when the activities of your organization want to expand internationally or cross-border. Participation in Horizon helps you also develop huge networks almost everywhere in Europe. But most importantly, I would say that you have the opportunity to meet and work with very interesting people from the research, let's say, domain, but also from the industry. It helps open the mind, especially in the area that we are involved. And even for the organization that participates, it's very important because it's also a good source of funding the research strategy of the organization that participates. Still, there are some potential disadvantages. And one of these is the time. I mean, if your organization is in a fast innovation cycle, Horizon Europe might not be the best program for you, because usually applications for funding, selection, grant agreement, and signing of the contract last approximately 8 months. And then the running of a project takes 3 years. So it's for research projects and for research ideas that are expected to mature and enter the market, I would say medium term. As we said before, it is a collaborative process, which means that you are not alone. It's not your organization alone, but you actually cooperate with a number of other organizations forming consortia. And sometimes the intellectual property rights of the results might be vague if not handled properly during project implementation. And the rest, 3 that you see there, every funding program that uses public money comes with some requirements for reporting, administrative, time sheets, cost tracking systems, so some overhead which the organization that participates has to take into account. In principle, my suggestion is that if your organization is not in a rapidly fast innovation cycle and has a clear research strategy on how to proceed on a specific domain, it's really worth taking the effort to becoming part of a European consortium and submit, let's say, participate in Horizon Europe. The benefits are really, really strong. How and where you can find further information and support? There are, of course, the Horizon Europe Info Days, which are practically info days that are being organized by the European Commission, the respective units and the respective directorates, where there's different sub-programs of the Horizon are being coordinated by. By using this link, let me just show you an example. You will go to this page. Actually, can you see? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we do.
So you see here the Horizon Europe Info Days. Most of them, especially the last year, have been done online. So everything is online. For example, for Cluster 5, which is climate, energy, mobility, you can go here and view the presentations, view the videos. Over there, Commission provides much more details per work program of the specific, for the work program of the specific cluster, the specific topics that are funded, topics for research and innovation. You can see more the different clusters and the various, let's say, info days that took place. Okay, and of course, another source of information, and I would say that it's always there to help newcomers in Horizon. It's the national contact points. National contact points, you can click here. Again, you can go, you will go to this point in the European Commission portal. I just put some searches for Greece, for the cluster digital industry and space. And here are specific persons that you can contact and discuss with them about your research interest and or about specific topics. In most of the cases, the NCPs are very well aware and can give you a lot of support and detail on how you can proceed, and mostly, in many cases, how you can find consortia to join. So that was the first part of the presentation. Is there any question?
Just saying that we have one question in the chat, but that's regarding Ukraine, and is Ukraine still maybe can still be a partner, or is there willingness to invite Ukraine in as a partner? But maybe I know that you are going to stop on the partner search as well. And do you want to maybe answer it then, or do you have any insights on this topic?
I will say my personal opinion. I have some very, very good friends from Ukraine that I have cooperated in the past in several Horizon projects, and they remain my friends. And if there are proper opportunities, they will be invited in proposals that we want to create. Okay, that now, at the same time, we have to be realistic that the war that's currently ongoing is a little bit problematic. I mean, it's not easy to talk with Ukrainian researchers right now and establish specific collaboration. However, I believe because there are several Ukrainian researchers, and I have been in the past in several also coordination support actions that were focusing on Eastern Europe. There are specific research teams that I'm sure that will continue and will have very good opportunities to participate. At least this is my personal view. Of course, the situation has to be stabilized.
Yes.
For things
to progress. I think I can also say from Civita's side that we also have multiple projects ongoing with Ukrainian partners, and of course these are continued. And I think that it even brings more this initiative that we want to work even more with Ukrainians. So instead of not counting with them or not seeing them as a possible partner, like it's even the opposite.
We are not European Commission to know what the European Commission will exactly do. I have the impression, however, that when the war stops, there will be heavy, let's say, promotion of including further the Ukrainian research community. This is based on my experience, but of course, all these are personal, let's say, estimations. But as I told you before, several Ukrainian research teams were already involved in Horizon 2020, and now I hope Horizon Europe 2. And it's just about having the war stop and the situation stabilized a bit before they continue heavily be involved in Horizon Europe. This is my personal, at least, estimation. Is there any question with respect to Horizon Europe so far, to what we have presented?
There is a comment in the chat, if you can see it.
I share, so for me it's difficult to see the comments. So.
Okay, so I can read it to you.
Yes.
So there's a comment that we recently went through an EU Horizon funding cycle as a consortium. The technical competency of the assessment was terrible and biased, and I would not recommend anyone to waste their time on applying. So that's...
we have all been disappointed from time to time. It's not an easy game, meaning that it is highly competitive. Just have in mind that all the European research community, industrial community is involved. So it's not always easy to win. But I think we will discuss later on in the presentation of what is probably the best strategies for newcomers to be involved.
Can I add a comment there? It wasn't.
Yes.
It wasn't. We were working with an experienced consortium, including Sorbonne University, who have many times applied for these projects. What we found was that the assessor out of hand dismissed the fact that the core of our technology was open source and didn't provide any academic references, which, if I recall, the specification of the funding didn't require academic references, but he decided, or she decided, a set of criteria in their assessment that were not in the original assessment specification. It was a complete, we spent probably 2 months preparing it, and the quality of the assessment which we have was terrible, and the professors at Sorbonne University were tearing their hairs out at the quality of the assessment. So somebody has to look at the competency and the technical qualifications of the people assessing technically complex projects, because they're not up to it.
First of all, hi, David. It was really nice that we talk again under these circumstances too. Actually, I have bad experiences and I have good experiences. I have seen sometimes that the evaluators were not competent enough. And this may happen. It's not, however, in the majority of the cases. Okay, I fully understand what you are describing. I have been in a similar case, but in the majority of the cases, especially also in Horizon Europe now, because I have seen the evaluation summary reports of several proposals, they are much more detailed compared to what they were in the past. In some specific, very technical domains, however, there might be, the selection of the evaluators might have not been the best. But this is a universal problem in the majority of public funding framework programs. But I would like to say that these are specific cases. It's not the majority of the cases that where the evaluators are not, let's say, well aware of the domain they're invited to evaluate. Usually what the Commission does is that it has evaluators who are experts in the field, the technical field, but also combine them with evaluations that have a more generic or more business approach, depending on the particularities of the topic. But yes, this can happen. It's part of the game. It doesn't happen that often, but it can be the case of a bad evaluation. Apostole, would you like to add something on that? Because you are also extremely experienced with proposal submissions and evaluations.
As I say, it was specifically the technical aspects where it was clear the assessors had no idea what we were talking about.
There is
and had a bias against, as I say, open source technology being the source of the work that we were then evolving into a project. And it was quite clear in their comments. They were simply saying this is irrelevant. In fact, that's almost the word they were using. With this technology is irrelevant, it's open source. This is not something we should be backing. And you know, we're seriously thinking about putting in an appeal, if nothing else, to give them.
This is what I want to say. There is a redress procedure where you can try it. In most of the vast majority of the cases, it's not successful. But if the evaluator comments really, let's say, neglected specific parts, or generally the procedure that was followed was not proper, then there might be some chance. In most of the cases, the redress procedure does not deliver a positive outcome. But if you really believe that something went wrong, you may use it.
Yeah, we've been advised by our mentor not to waste any more time on it.
This is also the second advice that I would give. And probably spot a topic in the future that will be better, let's say, more explicitly stating the technical terms and technical domains that your proposal was mostly focusing with, because sometimes the topic are not that much technical, meticulously described, and allow several interpretations.
Yeah, what it will be useful to be on the assessment, the assessor should do a short paragraph on why they believe they are competent to assess that particular project.
There is a process, David. There is a process for the selection of the evaluators, which I would say there is no process in the world that is perfect. In most of the cases, it works, but there might be cases that didn't work. I don't know, Apostole, can you contribute? Because I was extremely experienced in evaluations and
yeah, just want to confirm the last part, that the majority of the assessors, at least people that we are also acquainted with and we know personally, are experts on the domain. And for most cases, the matching, if you like, between the evaluators and the technical domain that they are assessing, it's quite close and without so big of a difference. However, in very specific technical aspects and thick calls that are very cutting edge, if you like, or are not very well known, even among the experts, there are occasions where we have such events, such results. However, I wouldn't take that as discouragement. I would take that as a challenge, because that's not the, that's not the common thing. Usually we get some constructive feedback, even when we are rejected, or even if we pass the threshold, but there are better proposals, better projects. And it's a good opportunity to improve and work a little bit better, find another call, just like Kostas explained, and resubmit the proposal, which is already at a very good, the majority has been drafted. It just needs to be improved. The consortium is there, so most of the work is already done.
No, you missed my point. My point was that the technical view of the assessor was against the technology we are proposing. And it was like saying, this is something that I don't approve of, therefore I'm not going to rate it. The problem is, in technology, as you know, people have their preferences. And this chap was very against anything that had come from an open source environment. We basically are modeling and working on an advanced microprocessor that will wipe the floor with Intel processors. So it's not as though it's a basic amateurish approach. They've been working on it for 4 years already, and we have working prototypes. But it was done in the open source world, and this chap's attitude was, if it's going to amount to anything, it should have been done in a commercial world, or it shouldn't have been done in the open source world. It was a complete dismissal and bias, and it was clear from his wording. As I say, the two professors we worked with at Sorbonne University took one look at it and thought, it was sheer horror as far as they're concerned. They couldn't believe what they were reading.
David, it might worth the effort to do a redress, even though the chances are very small. But because we all have these types, let's say, examples of frustration from this process. I mean, sometimes what we usually do is that we move forward and we find another topic.
Frankly, we just worked on the basis that as half the consortium were not in Europe, were in the UK, they'd just taken the shortest distance to dismiss it. That's what the majority of the members of the consortium have actually concluded.
I don't know, because you can never be inside the mind of an evaluator. In principle, I would say that we have several projects with UK partners and everything went well. But I mean, okay, let's move on. I mean, I think in your case, I will try to find another topic if I didn't want to lose my time with redress. Okay. Is there any other question by anybody else about what we've said so far? Okay. Shall we move on? Hello?
No, the chat currently doesn't have any more questions, so I think we can continue.
Okay, can you see my slides?
Yes, we can see. Perfect.
Okay. Okay, I know that some of you are more experienced in Horizon, and some of the things that we will show are basic stuff, but we have always to keep, let's say, a balance between newcomers and some more experienced persons. So now we're going to give some more information about the funding and tenders portal, which is the European Commission portal through which Horizon Europe actually is implemented. So it is, as we say, the key entry point for the participants to participate in funding programs and in European Commission tenders, but also of other EU bodies. In the case of Horizon, it is the key entry point for Horizon Europe. So in this portal, someone can search calls for proposals and calls for tenders. You can find information about how you can participate. There is also the possibility to search for project partners to work together, even though there are many other ways to find partners when you set up consortia. And of course, it is the main entry point, the main portal for making the submissions of the proposals, as well as later on negotiate for the contract preparation with the Commission and also for the reporting of the approved project as the project implements. And of course, it has many, many more functionalities. We started with something very, very basic. In order to take part in Horizon Europe, you have to create to follow some basic, let's say, processes. First of all, to create an account, an EU login account, which is personal. And I would say the second most important, of course, to create a PIC, a participant identification code. This is a 9-digit number that is unique for any organization that participates in Horizon. Just to make it clear, in Horizon Europe, it is the organizations, the companies, the research institutes that participate in consortia and submit proposals. It is not the individuals, the persons. So an individual creates an EU login account to have access to the various services of the portal, but you have to register your organization in order to be able to participate and to take a participant identification code, the PIC number as we call it, and be able to participate in the Horizon Europe, let's say, proposals and projects. Of course, for all these registration processes, there are also online manuals. I will not click this. It's very, I mean, if someone clicks, it's, you will get access to an online manual that gives all the details on how to do everything. And of course, the sooner an organization completes the steps, the sooner you complete the steps, the sooner you move on with your endeavor in Horizon. What is really interesting and what's really very, very useful in this funding portal is the fact that it allows you to search through multiple ways for calls for proposals under the Horizon Europe. And you can do this either by keywords or by cluster thematic priorities that I was telling you before, or by using additional filters like which calls are open, which are forthcoming, or even with by providing you with available links to specific topics. So what you see here in the screenshot is practically a number of topics. For example, internet architecture and decentralized technologies. If you click there, you will see much more information about the topic. This is one way of searching for suitable topics where might fit with your organization's research priorities and where it makes sense to go for a research proposal or a research idea. The other way to do it is what we write just right here is by using the work programs. As we said before, every cluster, every thematic priority of the Horizon publishes a work program every 2 years. So if you click here, let me just go directly there. It brings you to the reference documents, and here you can see that you can find the work programs and call documents. Just to give you an example, for 2021-2022, just a moment, it seems that it doesn't work. Now it works. You see the various pillars and the various thematic priorities clusters that, of the Horizon. For example, let's go to the digital industry and space. And here you can see that you get the work program for the cluster 7, digital industry and space. You see it's 500 pages. No, you don't have to read 500 pages. It's very simple. Someone goes to the table of contents and you see that there is one destination with a specific call and with a huge number of topics. If I scroll down, you see another call within the same destination, then a new destination with a call with several topics. I will go very quickly to something that might be of interest for you. Just to give you an example. And you can see here the destination, a human-centered and ethical development of digital and industrial technologies. We're entering in the next NCPs domain, and a call that it has a number of topics that might be of interest for NCPs initiatives and NCPs businesses and NCPs researchers. Artificial intelligence to find this information, trust and data sovereignty on the internet, trustworthy open research. All these are specific topics that call for research proposals to be submitted in them. I just click here and I go in page 382. I wouldn't find it if I was just scanning the document. So through the table of contents, We see the destinations that are of relevance to our organization research priorities. We see the titles of the topics and we understand whether it fits to what we want to do. And then we go to the specific topic and we see some basic information like the expect projects of 6.5 million for this topic. They have 13 million, so 2 proposals will be approved. It is research and innovation action, so it's research projects. They also mention the TRL that they expect to start from, the TRL that proposals should target to end. And of course, they mention some additional information. What is more important here is the scope that explains in detail what type of research projects they are searching for. Here, if someone reads, understands whether his research idea or his research priority of his organization is close to this scope. It's very important to be very close to the scope of the topic, just to make sense to come with an idea and submit a proposal there. And at the same time, you can see what is the expected outcome, what Commission expects from this topic, the projects to deliver. Okay, and if we go again, if we spot a topic that is of interest to us, we can also go at the end of the document and see the annexes that have more details on the, more details on the deadline of the call, when is the deadline of the call, when is the, for example, more details on the budget, or if there are some specific eligibility criteria. So all this information can be found by downloading a work program and viewing it like that. Of course, it is always possible when you have spotted a topic, either from reviewing the work program or through making search with keywords or other means, just click on the topic afterwards and see if there are specific eligibility, let's say, criteria or other specific particularities that the topic requires. So I just show you a way to search quickly, especially through the work programs, and find topics that are of interest for your organization. What we just saw is what practically exists on the topics page. You get the general information, you have the topic and destination description, the conditions. Through the funding portal, of course, you have access to all the documents, the templates, the evaluation criteria, the application forms. There you may also find announcements for partner search. There are cases where consortia publish an announcement that they are searching for a specific partner with specific expertise and characteristics. And of course, there are answer questions, frequently answers and questions, plus topic updates if there are any updates for specific topics. And through this, of course, you can always initiate the process of proposal preparation and submission. So, what I tried to show you before is how we actually try to find suitable topics for our research priority. It's very important to find the right topic because, as I told you before, it's a very competitive program. And of course, what does right topic means? First of all, it has to be a topic that is very close to what your company wants to do, or what's your idea, or what your priorities are. So when you see a topic and you think by reading it that there are over there research domains or innovation domains that are very close to what you want to do, you have to start asking at the same time, okay, but do I have the expertise? Do my organization have the expertise to contribute to an idea or to a project or to a solution? So we need to read very carefully the scope and the expected outcomes of the topic. We need to understand what is the state of the art and if what we want to do goes beyond. And of course, we need to have in mind that we're not designing a research proposal. We're not, let's say, having a research idea that is only focusing on a local, topical, let's say, aspect or challenge. This is a European framework program. They want to see projects that try to deliver results that have European-wide relevance, that will try to, let's say, address challenges that affect several parts of Europe. And this it's both in terms of budget, but also in terms of time frame. And as I said before, very important, will this project serve your actual interest, of your organization interest? Does this make sense? Does this specific topic that you want to go for is in line with the strategic objectives of your research strategy of your organization? Do you really believe that by doing this part of the research, this will fuel or the improvement of your organization or the growth, improve the competitiveness? And how well this can expand your innovation network? Because as I told you at the beginning, Horizon is very, very useful. Of course, if you make them proper selections in terms of topic, consortium building, on expanding your networks, both personally, but also of your organization. And give you also, you can get access to several important ecosystems that are of interest for you, for your solution or for your organization, as I said before. Of course, there is no way, it's impossible to find a perfect topic that would be exactly as your research idea, as the idea you have in your mind would like to be. But the experience has shown that we start with an idea, we discuss it with other potential members of the consortium, and then we improve the idea. And then we probably maybe shift a little bit the focus in order to make it a much better fit for the specific topic, while at the same time keeping the main ambition that we have in order to perform and do research that would benefit our organization, that would benefit our team. As I told you before, it is a collaborative research. It's collaborative research. It means that we have to form consortia, we have to look for partners. I would like to be very realistic on that. For newcomers in Horizon that do not have experience, I would say that it's much more reasonable to try to get into existing consortia that are under formulation, instead of actually them taking the initiative of starting some consortia from zero. As we are involved in the Horizon Europe, as we are involved in the implementation of a couple of projects, our network there expands further, and then we can start building much more easily consortia that will have some chances to succeed. So I would suggest that for newcomers in Horizon, the main, let's say, priority should be to try to find some consortia where we can contribute and become parts of them. Okay, to do so, we have to start pitching, and to start pitching, we have to do it also by starting by our own innovation network. Even, I mean, this network can be just other companies that will collaborate, but also other universities or research institutes and friends that we have there. Of course, this always has to be done in a way that will serve the research priorities of the organization, as I told you before. So one way is to use our own innovation networks. I'm sure that you will find friends from the research, academia, or industry that are involved with the Horizon. The other way is to follow some partner search announcements that take place through the Funding Center portal, but also through other initiatives that exist. I would say from my personal experience that yes, you might use this way to be part of a consortium, but usually the experienced consortia not always use this mean of communication, when they are searching for a specific partner. Actually, they are spreading the information to their network and try to get from the network back some suggestions. But still, there have been cases where this worked. And of course, it's the national contact points, but also the Enterprise Europe network that organizes several brokerage and matchmaking events. Some of them has to do with Horizon Europe, and you can take part. Especially before COVID, most of these events were physical. We had the opportunity to go to a place and meet 100 people, then talk to at least 10, 20 of them. And this has been proved very successful in the past. But still, even online or by using events or info day events, well, because over there, the research community that's involved in Horizon in a specific country, in most of the cases, participate in these info days that are being organized by the national contact points. And over there is also a very good opportunity to meet and discuss with very experienced, let's say, organizations in Horizon Europe. So this is just some general, let's say, advice on how someone can actually pitch his organization and look and find suitable consortia to become part of. So that was the second part. It was focusing on funding portal and on ways to become part of a consortium or set up a consortium. Do you have any questions?
Currently, there are no new questions in the chat, but if someone has a question, you can unmute and also speak up.
Perhaps while we are waiting for questions, I was thinking about two comments. The first one has to do with a big number. You don't have to be an established or registered company to get a big number. So you can get the big number, you can draft and participate in consortia for submitting a proposal. And if it is granted, then you can actually register your company or your organization afterwards. So this is quite neat, especially for startups, for new companies that are willing to get out there and get into this funding scheme. And the second comment, perhaps that could be of help to some of you, is that the search for partners on the portal could be also a place where you could provide your availability. So you can be one of the companies, one of the entities that somebody else is going to find through the funding and tender portals. So after you create your account, you can find topics that are of interest for you and declare your availability by pitching who you are and how you are related to this topic. And perhaps someone who is looking out for something very specific and very, high-end, cutting-edge technology, they could pick you up to participate in a consortium. And one last thing for the search part of the portal that I would like to highlight is that it's also quite handy to search for open calls, forthcoming and open calls. So besides the excellent opportunity through the work program where we have all the details together in one place, you can also use the portal for going through and exploring open calls and tenders.
Thank you, Apostole.
One comment from my side as well, that it's also about the peak number. I just know that Civita has had these experiences that it takes a little bit time sometimes to process, like when you are creating this new peak number. So it's maybe something that all the organizations that are part of the consortia should do, like as one of the first things, to make sure that everyone gets it on time. That's it from my side.
Okay, if there is any other question, is there any other question? Let's not be shy. If not, then Apostole, you can go with the next part of the presentation.
Sure, let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Excellent. So since it seems that we have some time, I was wondering if we could explore a little bit how many of you have actually worked with a proposal, a Horizon 2020 perhaps, or already a Horizon Europe proposal. So I don't know if we could have some reactions, or if you would like to speak up to see a little bit how many of you have actually worked on the templates before.
Maybe if you have worked, there is one hand. So
okay, I can see two.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so a lot of you are quite new, so that would be a quite interesting walkthrough. So after you have built your consortium, after you have the team and you have identified the goal and the topic that you will be submitting to your proposal, you have to actually do the parts, do the work. And Horizon Europe proposal is comprised of two main parts, which are part A, the application forms, covering general and administrative information, partner teams, the roles, achievements and projects, as well as the budget of the project, along with ethics and security. And the second part, which is the technical description, the essence of the work that is going to be implemented, divided into three parts: the excellence, the impact section, and the implementation. In general, you can find in a lot of places online, and of course the Commission has links for templates, but it's always recommended to check the template on your topic. So how you can do that: if you use the Funding and Tender Opportunities portal, you go to the topic that you are interested in. If you scroll down, there is the opportunity to start a submission. You have to be logged in first, of course. And if you start the submission, you go to a new page where you have some information, more information about the topic. You have the opportunity to select your company or to insert your newly picked number. And you can find on your left a click to download the Part B templates. So at this point, you haven't started the proposal yet, so you haven't created it, or even if somebody else has created it and you will work with them, you can always go through this process and download the template, regardless of whether you will proceed with a new proposal or not. So you can just go back. Here you can see the actual template, how it looks like. So there are a lot of interesting guidelines on the first pages. And then there are recommendations that are, interestingly enough, they are quite hidden if you walk through. So for example, you can see that there is a suggestion for the extent of each section, so 4 pages. It's not mandatory, but it's quite a good guideline to follow as you create your work. And of course, there are very specific instructions on how to actually work on this template. Just to give you a walkthrough, so this is the template that I downloaded a little bit before the masterclass, and you can see the instructions. Very important to know the page limit, as we will see. Most of the proposals, depending on the type, whether we're talking about research and innovation action or coordination support action, are between 30 and 45 pages. However, there are some topics that may have 70 pages, just like Horizon 2020. So just be sure to pay attention on the details. And all the proposals start with your consortium, and you will see that the 3 sections with very specific subsections and guidelines on each subsection. So it's very good to get accustomed of these guidelines, to see these instructions, to understand these instructions before starting working on the actual proposal. So continuing and starting from the very first part, which are the application forms, you have to provide 5, in general, we complete 5 different sections or steps, if you like, on the platform online. We start with general information about the proposal, the acronym, the title, duration, keywords, and abstract and declarations. And then for each of the participants of the consortium, we provide more detail, like the organization, the departments, the people that are going to join and work on the project, if granted, relevant publications, services, key expertise, if you like, significant infrastructure, and the gender equality plan, which mainly is an eligibility criteria for public bodies, higher education establishment, and research organizations. So if you are an SME, for example, you just click no here and everything is completely fine. We also have the budget for the proposal, ethics and security, as well as other questions, depending on the topic. This is not always applicable. As a partner to a consortium, so if you are invited to participate in another proposal, usually you contribute only in the participant step, where you fill in a template, a standard admin form, with information about your organization. And you also introduce some key aspects based on your experience or on your background and other information, which we can see here in more detail. So we have the organization, as we saw, we have the PIC number. As soon as you enter the PIC number, whatever you have on the platform will automatically be imported. You can select the department that will carry out the work. If you don't have departments, it's the entire organization. You have the main contact person, practically is the person that has access to the proposal and will be informed if with the results. Other contact persons that may interact with the platform. Researchers, that's quite a specific field with people that are considered researchers. There are specific definition what a research is and how to differentiate between the career stage and the role, as well as there is the request for an identifier. We recommend to have an ORC ID. It's a research unique identifier. It's free. Anyone can create one. But you can also use other identifiers, like, for example, your LinkedIn account. Then you have the role of the participant in the project. It's a list of checkboxes where you click what is relevant to your organization in view of the specific proposal. And then you fill in tables with up to 5 relevant publications, products, services, datasets, software, or other achievements that you had so far, along with a very brief description. The same applies for relevant projects or activities. Usually we prefer to use EU-funded projects. So if you have other Horizon 2020 or even a Horizon Europe project, it is good to showcase that you are experienced in this type of grants. And of course, if you have significant infrastructure, for example, if you have any dedicated equipment, if you have a high-performance computing unit, or if you have any other, significant infrastructure, not just workstations or laptop, you can put it here to emphasize how this can be used for the benefit of the proposal. And as we said, you just select yes or no for the gender equality plan. Here you can see an example. This is an ongoing proposal of Q plan. You can see our profile, our main organization data. Here is the Kostas, who couldn't make it, who is the main contact person. Of course, we have other contact persons as well. Here you can see the researchers involved in the proposal. So here is the name, a good example of we didn't put it right anyway. And you can see here the career stage is a drop-down menu, I think, with 7 options. So it's a career category A, B, C1, C2, D1, and D2. It has a good explanation. You can look it out. And the role of the researcher is leading or a team member, and the identifier. So either ORC ID, or if you select other, you can use it has an extra box to fill in what the other means. Then you have the checklist with your role of your organization in the project. You can see some very basic elements, basic services you like project management, communication dissemination, research performer, education and training, as well as other. If you select that, you can put whatever you think is more appropriate. And then we have the 2 tables with your achievements. Here you can see we used 3 services and 2 publications. The projects, here we have 2 previous projects of our company that have been used, and we explain what the project is and what is the relevance to the project that we are the proposal. So we don't just put any kind of projects. We try to be as relevant as possible. Then we have the infrastructure or equipment. Unfortunately, we don't have anything fancy to showcase here. And of course, the gender equality plan, which is a yes or no selection. After you have finished with part A, and as we said, you will be requested to fill in mainly your organization information. You move on into the core if you like, the technical description of the proposal. This is prepared offline. We saw the template a few moments ago, and it is submitted as a PDF. It has 3 parts. It is the excellence with the objective and the ambition, as well as the methodology. The methodology is a quite extended section. We have the impact divided into the project's pathways towards impact and measures to maximize impact, as well as a nice summary of the entire section. And then we have the quality and efficiency of the implementation. So practically the work plan and the resources. So how are we going to do the work? What is the timeline? What are going to be our deliverables? We will see in a bit more details. And finally, here we also have the capacity of participants and consortium as a whole. So why are we as a consortium capable of actually submitting these proposals and winning the proposal? So again, as a partner, you will not need to go through all of this section. You will most likely be requested to contribute to specific sections, not even section, to specific points in the manuscript based on your expertise and your domain. And in particular, you set out the objectives of your research and innovation work, always in the context of the proposal. You describe the work that you will carry out in the work plan. So there are tasks where you will say when you're going to do the work, how you're going to do it, and what will be the reports, the deliverables of this work. In the ambition, you summarize the state of the art and you outline how you will go beyond that in order to create something that is ambitious and of value for the project as a whole. And of course, provide and agree on an estimation of the resources required to carry out your work. So in terms of person months, as well as the rest of the budget, which we will see in a bit. So how do we approach the input requested? This depends on the section, of course. And you can see here just a summary of how we deal with each of the sections. So for the objectives, it is always preferable to describe briefly the objectives of your work, and I'll try to align them with the topic using relevant terms. So you see the topic, the expected outcomes, even the destination and the impact, and you try to see how your objectives best address the topic, the expected work that the call is about, and you try to use the relevant terms, relevant keywords, so that it will be easier for the evaluator to understand that you are relevant to the call. And it's always preferable to provide quantified targets with a realistic manner. So we usually use key performance indicators, easy to understand, but very well positioned indicators in order to showcase how we will measure our objectives, how we will measure the fact that we meet our objective. Then we have the ambition. So here's the state of the art. What is the literature, or what are the commercial solutions out there? What are people doing right now, and where have they reached? And what are the gaps and challenges in their solutions? And then we provide our work, our projects, our proposals, ambition on how we are going to go beyond them. How are we going to address these gaps and challenges? And this is a very nice narration that shows our technical competency and our technical expertise on the domain. Then we have the methodology. It's quite extended, and the idea here is to showcase a very good flow of how we are going to do the work, how we are going to approach key aspects of our work with a narrative and with a good reference to methods and frameworks. A very good example in a business model is that we are going to use the business model canvas, for example, and the lean approach, or other methodologies, other tools that are very well known, and they can give value to our approach and our steps, if you like, in general. We acknowledge key challenges that we may face, and at the same time, we provide solutions and why we are suitable for meeting them. How we know that this is difficult, but we are going to address it by doing this, that, and the other. That way we showcase exactly that we know where we are, what we need to do, and how we are going to do it. Then we have the expected impact. Here, something that usually it's done is that your input will be requested mainly for specific indicators that can support the scale and significance of the impact relevant to your work. And again, the indicators need to be quantified and provide relevant baselines or benchmarks that can enhance their credibility. So, for example, I can, with my project, I can improve the bandwidth by 50%, assuming that right now it's at that level, and with our solution, we will get it, 50% higher. So you can use the reference on where it is right now. This is your baseline, your benchmark, and based on your solution that you have explained on your objectives and your ambition, you can say that in overall, my performance will be 50% higher. So that's an excellent indicator, for example. Then you have measures to maximize impact. Here we are talking about dissemination, communication. So you will be requested to give more information about your network, your dissemination channels, if you participated in any trades, any expos, any ground events where you could go and tell, we are this project and we're doing that. Are you interested? And that will help a lot to support the proposal. And then, of course, we have the actual work plan where you, in specific tasks, you provide the process that you will follow to carry out your work, and again, objectives and deliverables, along with a timeline. When it is a 3-year project with 36 months, when are you going to start? Month 9, for example, and when are you going to finish? How many months do you need in order to finish the work and deliver your result? And finally, as we said, we have the capacity of participants and the consortium, where we need concise, relevant information regarding your main expertise, as well as your capacities that your organization brings into the proposal. So we don't just need, in general, what you are capable as an organization, but we need relevant information regarding your participation, your role in the consortium. So, for example, if we are in a consortium where we have a very technical role, and we are also excellent at marketing, it doesn't really add value if we don't have any performance on dissemination, for example, or it's very minimum effort to emphasize that we are good at marketing. We will just focus on the technical aspects, and this is more relevant to our participation, to the consortium, and to the proposal as a whole. Typically, your input should not be more than a couple of pages throughout, so it's bits and bytes here and there. So it's not that extended. Now, perhaps the most important thing, the budget. We have in both parts some aspects of the budget, both on the portal on part A, but also on the manuscript on part B, mainly in the form of effort, person months, for example, or other direct costs. And these are 5 categories. We have the personnel costs, which is an average monthly rate to the person months of each partner. We have some subcontracting costs. So in case you have some activities that you will not be performing, but you're going to contract somebody else to do for you. Then we have purchase costs that covers travel and subsistence, equipment, other goods, works, and services. So here we have costs for project meetings, for acquiring a piece of equipment, either grants, depending on the call, on the needs of the project, or less significant, like workstations, monitors, GPU, for example, or stuff like that. Then you have some other cost categories that depends on the proposal, and of course indirect costs, which is a fixed rate of 25% on A and C categories, so on personnel and purchase costs. So here a good tips, if you like, is that while working on your budget, you may be required to provide an average monthly rate that you will be used to estimate your budget. So this is quite easy to calculate and to provide. Again, if you are not very sure, you can reach out to the person that invited you, and you will see that in most cases it's quite easy and straightforward. Otherwise, there is also available information on the Commission on how to do that on the portal. And you have to remember that this is only an estimation, and most probably it will deviate during implementation. So we give an estimate. However, as you will know, even outside grants, things don't always go as planned. It's quite important to know that internal changes from one budget category to another can take place in case that the proposed project is approved and implemented. However, depending on the amount and the category, it might need a very good justification. And you have to keep in mind that the proposal has specific budget constraints, and your work may need to adjust to these. So this starts with the proposal as a whole. So if the call has a maximum budget of 2 million for each project, then if you request as a consortium as a proposal 2,000,001, this will most likely lead to a rejection. On the other hand, there are cases where for example, research and innovation actions, there might be need to provide additional support, if you like, to academic institutions, because we need to emphasize on research and less to SMEs and pilots and stuff like that. Just an example. It's not always the case. And with good communication and exchange, things are most likely resolved quite easily and on time. So what we look out and what we would like to keep as pointers, if you like, is first of all to check the scope of the call. Is the first thing when you open a call on the portal. It's the scope. It has certain bullet points, and it says that you have to address them all, or in some topics you have to address some of them. And you should also check the expected outcomes of the topic, which are also quite important. Again, bullet points depends on whether you will be requested to address them all or some of them. But it's always a good idea to tailor your solution, your approach to these bullets. Find them, identify how you relate to them, if you're going to address, if you need to address them all, and then how you address them all. If you need to address some of them, how you address these selected ones, and be very, very, very close to these bullet points, the scope and the expected outcomes. Again, we emphasize the page limits because it's quite an often phenomenon that quite close to the submission, even on the page and the date of the submission, there are proposals, very good and high quality proposals that are, for example, 50 pages. And how do you cut 5 pages from a very well-structured manuscript? It's quite difficult. And that is also applied to your contribution. So if you were requested 1 page, try to be on that 1 page, because someone else has tried to make the plans so that he or she will not need to cut off high quality context quite late on the submission. So keep in mind the page limits, try to be as accurate and as in limits as you can, so that you can avoid such bottlenecks closer to the submission. Be specific with quantified indicators when possible, striking a balance between ambition and feasibility. Use figures and tables to infuse your text with visual elements. It will always help to have a good graphic. Either we're talking about the concept of your proposal, your methodology, what are the steps. It's always easier for the evaluator to get a nice understanding of what it is you're going to do and how you're going to do it before reading a lot of pages of text. So you give them a nice visual, they have a first glance of what it is that you're going to do it and how you're going to do it. And then when they are reading through, they better understand what it is that you're going to do and how you're going to do it. So it's quite helpful. Try to align early on your expected contribution and timeline. That's with the rest of the consortium. Make sure that you know what you have to do, what is requested from you, and by when. That's always important. And try to stick to them for a smooth collaborative experience. Because as you know, when you are punctual, you can expect others to be punctual as well. That keeps a good collaboration between the consortium partners. Always work on the template of the proposal from the get-go, adjusting your text to the specs of each section. This is also quite important to avoid problems later on, as we told you. When you're working with the template, you know the margins, you know how you should work, what are the formatting restrictions. So that allows to avoid unnecessary formatting later in the project where you have more important things to do. And be agile. Sprint to develop a first version in your input and then improve based on available time and advances. So the idea is here that try to have a first draft available as soon as possible. Of course, the quality is important, but the idea is to have a first idea so that the other members of the consortium can also get a better understanding of what it is that you offer. And then you can work on improvements. You can get feedback from the consortium. Bear in mind that in most cases, the consortium have quite the experts. We heard before about two professors that are gurus on the domain. So there is quite an excellent opportunity to receive feedback that can be helpful regardless of the proposal. So you might get nice ideas even during the proposal preparation. So as soon as you can, provide a first draft, a good quality first draft, and then have time to improve it. So that's always helpful, and in more than just the proposal preparation stage. So these were some quick notes on the proposal preparation, the part A and the part B, as well as the budget. Hopefully it was quite helpful to you as a first touch, since only two of our attendants had a previous experience on that. And we would be happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding this section.
Apostle, just to make a small clarification about the budget, usually in every topic in the work program, Commission estimates a range, budget range, expected range per proposal. So in topic X, usually in the work program, it's written that we expect proposals of a budget around between 4 to 5 million. So usually then we go and design projects that is of this size, of between 4 and 5 million. But we can always go for, or let's say, select to go for more. However, what we usually do, it is allowed to design a project that will actually ask less or ask more than the Commission normally expects for a specific topic. But usually you try to adjust to what the topic asks or what the topic suggests in terms of budget. Sorry for the short intervention, because just to avoid a misunderstanding during the presentation of the budget, to avoid misunderstanding.
It's an excellent comment. So I don't know if we have any questions, or if you would like to discuss some of the parts that we have tackled. I don't see anything on the chat. So I don't know if you would like to since we have some time, if you would like to go into some experiences like the one that has been provided before.
Apostle, there is a question for just appeared about if we have any suggestions for matchmaking. Would you like to share your experience, and probably then me later
on? Yeah, sure. Well, depends on how you approach that. So if you go through the portal, for example, and you check out for available partners that are there, and you try to find out who are most closer to you and your idea, it's always good to check their experience, because on the portal you can see if they have participated in previous projects, what were their role, what are the key activities. They have some keywords and some key indicators, some metrics that could be of help to you. It always helps to know that the consortium that you are in has some kind of experience. Not all the partners, but at least the ones that are leading the proposal. And that is also in terms of the proposal preparation as a process, but also on the technical aspects. Because it's quite often that there are excellent technical ideas and amazing solutions, but they are not put in the right format, if you like, that the evaluators are going to like them, to understand them, and to evaluate highly. So it's always good to know that in the consortium you have both technical, but also people that know how to address the proposal preparation stage. Otherwise, from previous technical proposals that I have participated in, it's always good to have people that, this is a personal opinion, don't take it to heart. I really like when we have people that are open and they like to brainstorm. So some of the most interesting proposals that I had participated in and they were successful, we spent quite a lot on brainstorming, on discussing on the literature, on how we could approach some things in order to find the best venue, the best way to resolve the challenge that the topic requested. Of course, you don't need to engage too many discussions, because that's not always leading somewhere. But it's always good to know that you have open people that like to discuss, to present their ideas, and you can present yours, you can exchange, and that way you have also some kind of transfer of knowledge that can help you a lot, not only for the proposal, as we said, but also in your commercial endeavors as well. I don't know if that answered exactly the question. Kostas,
let me add my experiences.
Yeah.
If you have already participated, let's say once or even twice, or let's say very small number of times, you already have created a small network of partners that are involved in specific domains or specific consortia, and of course you can utilize this network to expand it further. What we actually do is that you see the topics, you select a number of topics that are interesting for your company or your organization, and you discuss with this network that we have of partners from previous collaborations, and then you try to sketch together a proposal, a research idea that would, let's say, be good enough to be transformed to a research proposal to be submitted. The most difficult thing is when you do not have been involved at all in Horizon Europe. There, from my experience, it has been very useful personal networks and contacts that the people who are involved in a company or organization have. Usually these contacts should be either in research institutes or in universities or in other companies that are involved in Horizon Europe. And through discussions and communication with them, and so through, let's say, discussing with them on specific subtopics, you can potentially manage to be involved in the process and become partner in a research project. So when you have not done it before, it's always more difficult to manage to enter in a consortium, and to say it even better, to manage to enter in a very good consortium that can draft a very good research proposal that will have chances to win. So one thing is the personal networks of the people involved in the company. Of course, it has been very successful manner of, let's say, matchmaking by taking part in the various matchmaking events, either of the national contact points, of the European Enterprise Network, or of several projects, support actions that usually are organizing this kind of matchmaking events. Before COVID, all these were physical, or the majority of them were physical, so you could just travel either at your country or in another country and take part, as I said before, in a matchmaking event with 100, 200 participants. And over there, just in 1 or 2 days, you had the opportunity to talk with so many people. Now it is online, so of course, it's worth going there and discussing, but you have to be prepared. Because when you go to a matchmaking event, you need to have a specific agenda in your mind. What is the research priorities that my organization have? Have we found some topics that we see that they are interesting? Are there other participants that are interested for this, have similar research priorities, or they are interested in the same topics? And then go and discuss this and be very, very as specific as possible. Because, for example, when I participated in the past in a matchmaking event and I was talking with 20, 30 people, what I was really remembering 2 days after was just 1, 2, 3 people that really had very, very specific offerings to make, either on technology level or on methodology level or whatever other level they had. So you have to go. You have to be prepared before you go to participate in a matchmaking event. I don't know, Elo, would you like to share your experiences?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, my experience just says that you have to be, like you have to kind of sell your idea, not in the selling way, but not be shy. Like a matchmaking event makes most sense when you are really ready to talk with people and present your idea and talk about it and really like let people know how enthusiastic you are about your idea. Like, don't be shy maybe about what you are doing, because quite often we tend to not maybe talk so much about our things or not so passionately, but this is definitely the place. Like if something really interests you or you feel like you know a lot about the area, just like feel free to open up there, because then people will kind of remember you. It's exactly what Costa said, that after this event you will just like remember a couple of people. So yeah, just make sure that you go there with the agenda on your mind and willingness to also open up from your side, like what you could offer to some other projects.
So we usually a company send there a person that has the technical understanding, but also has the skills, the soft skills. It's extrovert, communicative, likable when he discusses. So we usually send people that have also the soft skills when we participate in this kind of events. Because at the end of the day, matchmaking it's about human relationship. You have to build it somehow in order to build the network and then create the opportunities to be involved in several proposals and potentially projects. Is there any other question?
Or maybe someone is willing to open up why, like you are here today. So I assume that you are interested in Horizon Europe, but why haven't you applied yet? Like what's holding you back the most, or what's the most like scariest about it? If someone is willing to share. If not, we also have the mentoring possibilities. So there is also mentorship slots about this Horizon Europe webinar. So if it's something that you want to go for, like don't want to discuss here, but Horizon Europe is really something you want to go for, or you have found something, definitely building the consortium seems like the scariest part.
Let me comment on that. The first time or the first times, yes, it's difficult. After some involvement in projects is extremely easy. Of course, to create the very strong consortium is not always easy, but to find partners after a while, it becomes very, very easy. Mm-hmm. But the first time or the first times is you are right. It is difficult.
It is, yeah, but in the end you find that we all people, like nowadays, like you meet in Zoom or Skype and you go like, hi, so who are you? What are you doing? And it starts rolling.
And just to comment also on the other comment, Horizon Europe is about collaborative research. So it's not just about doing by ourselves, research that we're doing by ourselves. And that's why also it has so large budgets. For example, a €5 million project is a big project. I mean, it's a significant project, or a €10 million project. I mean, so it is designed to support collaboration of research, academia, other organizations under one consortium, so as to deliver work that focuses on European-wide challenges, as I said before. That's why it's so big, and the projects of Horizon are quite big. In many cases, of course, there are projects which are smaller, of 2 million, of 3 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also just wanted to mark that some of the Horizon projects, or actually a lot of them, are about like giving knowledge from the countries that are more experienced to the countries who are maybe not so much, or giving knowledge from one partner to another to kind of gain knowledge. So it's okay to also put in the like partner search that you are looking for expertise, like you are good at something, but you would like to develop, and someone will pick you up as a partner, and they will actually be the one who will be teaching you. So you don't have to be the expert one also to be one of the consortium partners.
Indeed. And also a very interesting comment just pop up in the chat. How we should choose between applying to the different funding sources that exist out there practically, and were presented in the 5 webinars. I would say that because I have experience also from national projects or from other initiatives which are practically fund one single organization, it depends on what challenge the program wants to address. So usually in the national programs, we have smaller consortia of 2 or 3 organizations working on a research idea that address a national project, or a regional program may fund, let's say, a research project that focus on solving a regional a problem of regional importance. Okay, over there, in these cases, usually the consortia is very small. In many cases, it might be just single applicants consortia. Not consortia, single applications or with one organization. In Horizon Europe, it's the European-wide challenges, global challenges that have to be addressed. So that's why we are searching for solutions that will affect, that will have an impact, not just on a region or on a country, but across Europe. And over there, the consortia are big, and over there, the requirements for different partners, and in most of the cases, multidisciplinary partnerships, are very, very strong. So depending on what our organization wants to do, for example, if we are a small company of 5-6 people and we want to develop our platform or our app or our solution and let's say make it progress, there might be some local or regional, let's say, funding programs that can help us supporting, let's say, startups or entrepreneurial, let's say, endeavors, and we can use them. If we have something bigger and also with huge potential for scaling up, there are also some programs like the SME instrument, where we can go and try to access resources in order to fund and scale up our solution, and that it can be single applicant. Single applicant can be there. However, it's not one size fits all, and it's not, let's say, a unique, let's say, a reply that someone can give. It all depends on what we want to do. I hope I managed to answer it a bit, this comment.
Yes, and just yes. Yeah, just as a last thing, I would like to say that if you have some very specific thing, like for example, you didn't understand how to actually look for a partner in the participant portal, or you would like to anything, then just sign up for the mentoring and you have a chance like one-on-one for someone to help you with this, to go through all these things again, because it is a lot of information to start with. Okay, but then it seems that we are done for today and done with the masterclass series overall. So before you go, please give us feedback. I have attached the link in the comments section, and this is, it just takes a couple of minutes and give us some valuable insights. But thank you, big thank you to our speakers today. It was great. Also very valuable for me, even though I have done it. It was really well presented, like really well thought through. So thank you a lot. And thank you for everyone who is still here with us until the end.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for listening to us and paying attention. Thank you.
Thank you and have a nice day.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Nice day.
Bye.
Bye.